Hey guys, Dragon here. I told you all I had more footage recorded, and here we are. This footage is from 5 different illustrations I did of my solar system characters. Now you may be wondering, well gee, 5 illustrations, I'm pretty sure there are more than 5 planets in the solar system, Dragon. And you're right, there are definitely more than 5. But I'm drawing my solar system characters. I only made about half the solar system, the other half was designed by my friend Olive. We started designing these characters in April of 2018 after a trip to the Boston Museum of Science. We saw a couple different planetarium shows and they were really inspiring, so we made solar system characters. So I designed Earth, Venus, Jupiter, Neptune, and the Kuiper Belt, while Olive designed Mercury, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Pluto, and the Sun. We also designed numerous of each of the planet's moons, except for poor Mercury and Venus who don't have any moons, so they're all alone, but they have each other, so they're okay. And I designed like 3 other dwarf planets that were a part of the Kuiper Belt. I'm sorry if I say these wrong. They are Haumea, Makemake, and Eris. Also, before I get into talking about these illustrations, I just want to say that I was inspired by Lavender Town, who a little while ago made a video series about turning planets into characters, and when I saw it, I was like, hey, I have planet characters. Kind of want to make a video about them. And so here we are. Now the first planet I'm drawing is Earth, and of course Earth's moon to go along with them. I tried to draw all the moons in these illustrations somewhat to scale based on diagrams I found of the planets online because I wanted to be scientifically accurate. My Earth character is a very sickly fellow. They're just sick and dying because all the stuff humans are doing to them. Every now and then the humans will blow something up on Earth and Earth will get really startled. Usually I draw Earth with a sick mask, but I wanted to show off their sad expression and graying skin along with the bags under their eyes. Also, all the planet characters are genderless and they use they them pronouns, except for Venus, who uses she her pronouns because she believes she's a goddess since humans named her after one. You'll also notice how they don't have feet, which was Olive's idea, so props to her for that. I had a lot of trouble figuring out the shading in the background for this illustration. I wanted all of Earth's colors to be somewhat well visible, and I ended up getting kind of frustrated, and I finished the illustration while I wasn't recording because I needed to figure stuff out. So here's the finished illustration, and you can see I changed a lot, and I definitely figured out the direction I wanted to go in as far as like backgrounds for all these illustrations. Now here's the Venus illustration. Like I mentioned before, she thinks of herself as a goddess because humans named her after one. She also kind of acts like Earth's sister because, well, have you ever heard the expression that Venus is Earth's sister planet? Because they're similar in size. And I'm sure there are other reasons the phrase exists, but that's just what I know. I think she's probably one of my favorite planet designs that I've made. Like, her skin is supposed to look like the hot volcanic surface of Venus, and her clothes represent the like dense, cloudy atmosphere of Venus. Like, you can't see Venus's surface because it's covered in thick clouds. Overall, she's very hot, both in temperature and appearance. She's a very confident character and won't hesitate to bother the other planets when she's bored. I don't think I have much else to say about her. I did end up editing the shading on her a little bit off camera because the blue it wasn't working with her color palette and I felt I needed to change it. So here's Venus, all finished up. Next up is Jupiter, and they're absolutely massive. I tried to draw them extra long compared to the other planets I had drawn so far, since Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. Honestly, I will say that Saturn is my favorite planet. Not talking about the characters right now, just about the solar system in general. But doing this illustration really gave me a newfound appreciation for Jupiter. They're just so big and pretty. I also love all the designs I made for Jupiter's Galilean moons. They have all my love, honestly. Jupiter has the prettiest and coolest moons, and I'm honestly kind of in love with Io. It's the most volcanically active object in our solar system, and it has such unique colors, and I just freaking love it a lot. I will say that this was my first time drawing my planet characters digitally, so I kind of went all out with doing coloring stuff I couldn't do traditionally, and and I ended up making Jupiter's skin like 10 times more complicated than it needed to be. But hey, it looks pretty, right? I use the NASA planet overview pages a lot for research stuff, and I would totally recommend checking it out if you've got some free time. Jupiter's page has an interactive where you can spin the planet around, which is already entertaining enough for my caveman brain, but there's also a couple spots you can click to get more info on some of Jupiter's features, so I tried to include all those features on this Jupiter character of mine, which of course includes Jupiter's giant superstorm that's always going on, which I put on Jupiter's stomach, and then there are the pearls, which are also referred to as the string of pearls, which are a bunch of storms that show up on Jupiter every year, and they're a bunch of white spots, and I put them on Jupiter's wrists, even though it's kind of hard to tell that they're there. And lastly, Jupiter's auroras, which I put on Jupiter's head. Normally I draw Jupiter with a beanie, but I really wanted to draw the auroras on top, so I went with that instead. Also, a fun fact I read while doing research was that Jupiter self-generates its auroras. Its magnetic field is so powerful that it takes in charged particles, including stuff expelled by Io, and turns it into the auroras, which is honestly so cool to me. Man, I could sit and talk about space stuff all day. You know, I'd like to think in another life I would have been an astronomer. I just love space stuff so much. I look up at the stars at night and I swear I could cry. It's so big and mysterious and I can't help thinking about what's out there. But alas, I am but a stupid baboon who only knows how to draw my dumb characters. Anyways, that's enough rambling. Here's Jupiter's finished illustration. Here's the last actual planet illustration I did, and it's Neptune. I think I gave Neptune the most unique face of all the planet characters I designed, and I'm honestly surprised it got it to work. But you know, Neptune is actually the chillest planet in the solar system. Get it? Because Neptune is really cold and their personality is really laid back and chill. I'm sorry, that was awful. But anyways, I really love Neptune's design, particularly how I colored his hair. Or their hair, sorry. God. It just came out looking really pretty. Also, something I learned while researching for these illustrations was that Neptune has 6 rings. They're really faint, so you'd never know it, but it kind of came as a surprise to me, because you always hear about Saturn's rings, and sometimes you hear about Uranus's rings, but I've never heard anything about Neptune having rings. So, I don't know, I just thought that was really interesting and neat, and I never would have expected that. That's all I have to say about Neptune. Here's their finished illustration. And lastly, we have the Kuiper Belt, which isn't a planet, but rather a giant ring of icy objects that orbits our sun just out past Neptune. Stuff in the Kuiper Belt is referred to as Kuiper Belt objects or trans-Neptunian objects, and Pluto is actually part of this massive body of stellar objects, along with several other dwarf planets that we know very little about. Like, there's very little information out there on Makemake, so I just had to improvise on their colors and make them super mysterious. I found one image where Makemake was colored red, so I just went with that. And honestly, I'm just really fascinated with the Kuiper Belt, and I wanted to make a character out of it to include in the solar system's cinematic universe. I wanted to make them big, dark, and mysterious, and also they're kind of a huge jerk. Just a real noodly little jerk. Or a big jerk, I should say. They're about the same size as the sun character, which Olive designed. At least in my mind, I haven't actually talked to Olive about that, but you know, we'll get there eventually. I gave all the little dwarf planets, little like mini versions of their like dwarf planets to sit on, if that makes sense. I just wanted them to have something to be sitting on while they're orbiting around. If that probably makes no sense, but you know what? It works in my head. Because, you know, the way I figure it, the Kuiper Belt works in this character-based solar system was that there's a ring of Kuiper Belt objects around the solar system that are in orbit around the sun, and the character is just one of those things that is orbiting, and the dwarf planets aren't always around Kuiper all the time, but rather somewhere else in their orbital paths around the sun. This probably isn't making any sense. I'm sorry. You can't blame me for trying to explain what's going on in my head, though. But, so now, when I was coloring Pluto in, I had to kind of guess at them, because Olive hasn't done a color drawing of Pluto yet, and she's the one who made Pluto, so Pluto's colors in this drawing aren't exactly canon, but, you know, she said they were pretty close, so good enough. Also, before the speed paint ends, did you guys all see the photo of the black hole? Thought it was really cool, although I was a little bit disappointed by how blurry it was at first, but, you know, these people who worked so hard to get this photo did an awesome job, so I can't complain. People weren't expecting to get a photo of a black hole for like a really long time, so it's huge that they managed to get the photo now. Plus it's really super cool photo, and it means a lot to science, I'm sure. I'm not the smartest person to talk about this stuff, so I apologize for that. So, anyways, here's the Kuiper Belt and all the dwarf planets all done. I think Haumei is my favorite part. They're just chillin'. Anyways, I could keep talking about these guys forever, so I'm gonna cut myself off here. So that's it. Do you guys have a favorite of my solar system characters? Would you like me to do illustrations of the other half of the solar system? That is to say, Olive's solar system characters. I mean, I love Olive's characters, so I'm tempted. But then again, I'm probably going to be getting really busy soon, because I'm almost done with high school, and graduation is probably going to sneak attack me sooner than I think it will. Yeah, okay. Anyways, I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys!